Is it actually any surprise that this film has turned out as bad as it is? Not really. Uncharted. Now, Uncharted is directed by Ruben Fleischer, and basically the film follows Nathan Drake, played by Tom Holland, and Scully, played by Mark Whalberg, who basically go on this adventure to go and find some treasure hidden in the middle of nowhere. But along the way, they face some obstacles in their journey. Sound familiar? Because that is basically the same plot of every single action-adventure movie ever made, and of course, it's a plot of this movie as well. And just before I get into my thoughts and feelings on this movie, I should point out something. I've never ever played an Uncharted game. I haven't really seen anything about them, but all I know is what I've seen in this movie. So I've never played an Uncharted game in my life. But my god, this movie was bad. It was just, it's terrible. And honestly, I kind of expect it to be. And well, about 20 minutes into the film, honestly, I just completely lost interest. As soon as Mark Whalberg showed up, I didn't care one bit. Because Mark Whalberg is a good actor. I like Mark Whalberg. I like him in Boogie Nights, I like him in Patriots Day, and I like him in The Departed. But the thing is though, as soon as he shows up in this film, he's just mumbling the whole way through. And you know, Tom Holland tries his best as Nathan Drake, but honestly, it's such a lifeless movie, and there's no energy with those characters. You know, those characters to bring so much energy to this movie, but they just don't. And it feels like Ruben Fleischer, I might pronounce his name wrong, and apologise if I am, but it feels like Ruben Fleischer, you know, the director of the movie, has this habit of making dull films recently. Honestly, it really does, and everything in this movie just comes across as tedious, dull, boring, and just brainless, and lifeless as well. Honestly, it's so bad. It really is. I can't think of enough synonyms to actually talk about how bad this movie is, because, man alive, it was awful. And you know, the film does have a few very small perks. I do think it isn't badly made. I don't think it's well made, can I point out, but I do think that, you know, a lot of people put effort into the film, and that's great and things like that. And also, you know, the movie is kind of colourful, and also, you know, the movie is trying to achieve what it's set out to do. It's trying to be this good action-adventure movie, and I applaud it for trying. But unfortunately, it fails miserably. Honestly, it's just those lead performances from Tom Holland and Mark Whalberg which has made the film feel so dull and just so bland. Honestly, Tom Holland's a good actor. I really like his interpretation of Spider-Man. Granted, I can't think of anything else he's been good in, but nevertheless, I really like his interpretation of Spider-Man. I love his interpretation of Spider-Man. And also, like I said before, Mark Whalberg is good in Boogie Nights. He's great in Patriots Day, and he's great in The Departed. Granted, he's not in The Departed that much, but he's good in that movie. But here, he's just so boring to watch. Honestly, there's some moments of dialogue that I genuinely couldn't hear and couldn't understand from Mark Whalberg because he was just mumbling his way through. The performances are so dull. Like, Tom Holland tries his best to bring some energy to the movie, but like I said before, Ruben Fleischer has this habit of making dull movies recently. It almost feels like, you know, Ruben Fleischer watched Tom Holland try to give some energy into his movie. Actually, you know, Tom, you know that energy that you're trying to give into this movie? Just take it all away and actually just give a really bland performance. And I'll get on to Ruben Fleischer in a sec. But the thing is though, the dynamic between Tom Holland and Mark Whalberg is just, it's rubbish and it doesn't work. Honestly, you know, I remember, I think it was all the way back in like 2017, you know, Tom Holland and Mark Whalberg were on the Graham Norton show together. And actually, this way before they both got cast in Uncharted, there was more of a dynamic between them two in that one episode. In that one episode of Graham Norton, there was more of a dynamic between those two actors than there was in the entirety of this film. And I'm not joking there. It's just the dynamic between Mark Whalberg and Tom Holland is so dull and so boring to watch. I hate using that phrase, boring, but it's the truth when it comes to this movie. It's so boring. Because the thing is that when you watch your heroes in these action-adventure movies, they're meant to bring so much energy into it. You know, Indiana Jones in the Indiana Jones films brings so much energy into those movies. You know, Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Well, in the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies anyway. And then there's Brendan Fraser in, you know, the Mummy films from like the 1990s. And also, you know, Emily Blunt in Jungle Cruise. Jungle Cruise is a film I hate. I really don't like that movie. But at least Emily Blunt is trying to bring some energy into that movie. And Dwayne Johnson to a degree as well. I don't think they're off in the movie because they're trying to bring some energy into it. But here, Tom Holland, who's a good actor, Mark Whalberg, who's a good actor, are just so boring to watch. And I hate using that phrase, but it's the truth here. It really is. And in a way, going on to Ruben Fleischer, the director of the movie, like I said before, Ruben Fleischer somehow started a habit of making really dull movies. Like, he made Zombieland, which is one of his first movies, and I really enjoyed Zombieland. I really enjoyed the first Zombieland. I think it's a lot of fun, but not because of the direction, more because of the cast. You know, watching Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, and even Bill Murray in his Small Pan movie is really, really good. But then he also made 10 Minutes or Less and Gangster Squad, and I haven't seen those movies, but they did not do well with critics. And then he directed the first Venom movie with Tom Hardy, and man alive, I don't like the movie at all. I think it's so boring and just such a tedious watch. And then he directed Zombieland Double Tap, and I didn't mind Zombieland Double Tap. I thought it was a bit of fun, but the only reason I really enjoyed that movie was because I got to see that cast again. Honestly, I haven't actually watched Zombieland Double Tap since I first watched it in the cinema way back in 2019, and since I did my review of the film on this channel, all the way back then. But yeah, Ruben Fleischer recently with Venom and, you know, Zombieland Double Tap to a degree, and some of his earlier works, it sounds like, it just makes dull movies. He's not a good director, and this film is further evidence of that. Honestly, this movie is just so lifeless. There's no energy in the direction, unlike the Indiana Jones films, which have Spielberg's sort of magic in there, and unlike the Mummy films, which I don't know who the directors of those movies were, but unlike the Mummy movies from like the 1990s with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, those movies have energy, and even Pirates of the Caribbean as well, with Jack Sparrow, you know, Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow in those movies, but there's no energy in this movie, and that's what you need from an action-adventure movie, and I'm a sucker for a really good action-adventure movie. I spoke about this in my Jungle Cruise review. I'm a sucker for a really good action-adventure movie. But, oh my god, you need energy in those movies. You need energy in a good action-adventure movie. That's what makes them good. The fact that they're fun, the fact that they're joyous to watch, like the Indiana Jones films. That's one of the reasons I love the Indiana Jones films so much, because Harrison Ford brings so much energy into his role as Indiana Jones, and Spielberg brings so much magic into those movies. And also Sean Connery in the third Indiana Jones film is so good, and John Rhys Davies in those movies as well. And it's just, there's so many elements in the Indiana Jones movies which add so much energy. You know, the John Williams musical score. But then here, this movie just doesn't have any energy, and I really wish it did. That's one of the reasons this movie just doesn't work, because there's no energy there, and I really wish there was. And also, it feels like a straight rip-off of the Indiana Jones movies. Honestly, it really does feel like the filmmakers of this movie sat down and watched all 4 Indiana Jones movies before making this movie and went, actually, you know, that in Raiders of the Lost Ark, let's copy that in this movie, and that Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, let's copy that in this movie, that Indiana Jones Last Crusade, let's copy that in this movie, and look at that Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and let's copy that into this movie. Honestly, I'm not joking here. And by the way, I've said the word honestly so much in the review, but I'm going to say it again. Honestly, I'm not joking here. This movie feels like a bad rip-off of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not even one of the best Indiana Jones movies. And by the way, I quite like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's the first movie I saw at the cinema, and so I have a bit of nostalgic feeling towards it. But even I can look back on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and go, actually, you know what? That's nowhere near as good as any of the original 3 Indiana Jones movies. But honestly, Uncharted feels like a bad rip-off of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm not even joking there. Honestly, it really feels like it's copying off Indiana Jones movies, and in a really bad way. Like at one stage, you get this cross artifact, and honestly, it just looks very similar to the cross artifact that you get at the start of Indiana Jones Last Crusade. Like the whole bit of Indiana Jones Last Crusade, you know, on the boat, and they're like, it belongs in a museum, so do you. Just saying those lines again, bring tingles to me. I just love that moment in Indiana Jones Last Crusade. That's one of my favourite movies. But then here, this cross artifact comes into the movie, and I just literally went, oh, well, they've taken that of Indiana Jones Last Crusade. And then at one point in the movie, Mark Wahlberg's character, Scully, actually calls Tom Holland's character, Nathan Drake, he calls him the next Indiana Jones. And I literally just went, ha! That's just reference to think that they're ripping off. I hate when movies do that. I really do. Like, there's another point in the movie as well where Scully actually calls Nathan Drake, you know, Jack Sparrow. And it's just kind of like, why are you doing this? Why are you referencing better action-adventure movies? Because they're just making me want to watch those other movies instead of this one. Honestly, when he referenced Indiana Jones, I literally just sat there and went, I haven't seen Raiders of the Lost Ark in a long time. I might check out that movie again soon. That's what I felt like when that reference happened in this movie. Honestly, it's so bad. And at the same time, though, the film wastes actors like Antonio Banderas, Zorro himself. And by the way, Zorro is a great film. The first Zorro film is really good. I remember watching it as a kid and really enjoying it. But you know, Zorro himself is in this movie. Puss in Boots himself is in this movie. And he's not in it that much, though. Like, I'm not going to give away what happens with his character. But Antonio Banderas, Oscar-nominated actor, is in this movie. And he's bad in it as well. And they barely use him, though. He shows up there, and it almost feels like he's got a sign held up in front of him, like, I'm here for the check. Nothing else but the check. But at the same time, though, when he's in this movie, he's tuned it in a bad way, which is a difficult thing to do, but somehow Antonio Banderas managed to do that in this movie, and also his character completely wasted. Like, I'm not going to give away what happens to him, but he's only really in 10 minutes of the movie, so you might have guessed what happened to him already, but in the end, it's only Uncharted, it's not a Marvel, it's not a Star Wars movie, this is only Uncharted, by the way, but yeah, it's only in about 10 minutes of the movie, and then when the real villain got revealed, I literally just went, are they kidding? Are they actually kidding? Because I don't find that character who got revealed as the main villain of the film threatening whatsoever. Honestly, when that reveal happened, I just sat there and went, ha! Really? Brilliant. Literally, just, my God. The things in the movie, the storylines and the character introductions, and as soon as those storylines happen, and as soon as those character introductions happen, you know what's going to happen later down the line in the movie. But there's one storyline in particular with, you know, Nathan Drake and his brother, which is not a bad storyline, but somehow they mess that up as well. But the thing is, though, there's this whole storyline to do with Nathan Drake and his brother, and you know exactly where the storyline's going from the start of the movie. You know exactly where it's going. Even so, the characters may be trying to trick you, you know exactly where the storyline's going from the start of the movie. And also, there's a couple of character introductions where they come into it like, oh, I don't trust you, and like, okay, I know exactly what you're going to be like later on in the movie. And if you've seen the movie, there's one character who's with Scully and Nathan Drake a lot in this movie, and I knew exactly why she was there through quite the movie. Honestly, the quote-unquote twist in the movie are so predictable, and you know what certain characters' motives are as soon as they show up. There's no mystery with certain characters in the movie. There's no mystery with any of the stock characters when they show up in this film. And also, another big problem with this film is that it doesn't feel expansive. Like, one of the things that action-adventure movies should do in general is make their audience feel like they're going on the same adventure as the heroes in the movie. But the thing is, though, like in this movie, it just feels like Tom Holland and Matt Whalberg got to go on a holiday somewhere. Honestly, the film feels so contained, and it doesn't feel like they're jumping around from different locations to different cities. It just kind of feels like it just feels so self-contained. It doesn't feel expansive. Like when you watch any Indiana Jones movie, even the fourth one, you can watch and go, I feel like I'm going to all these different locations alongside Indiana Jones. Same can be said about Pirates of the Caribbean, and even to Jungle Cruise to a degree. Again, Jungle Cruise is a film that I don't like that much, but at least in that movie, it feels a bit more expansive, and Romancing the Stone for that matter as well. Romancing the Stone, another great action-adventure movie that I have a bit of a soft spot for, because it feels like you're going on this adventure with the heroes. But here, it just kind of feels like Tom Holland and Matt Whalberg on a holiday, and they're filming that, and on the holiday, they got told to do a treasure hunt. That's what it feels like, and it's so self-contained. It doesn't feel like they've gone on an adventure. It just feels like they've gone to big CGI set pieces, other set pieces which don't look CGI, but at the same time, though, don't look that great either. And like, they've just gone to all these different locations, but that they haven't actually been there, in my opinion. It just looks CGI and looks like it just doesn't look like they've been anywhere in this movie apart from sets. And by the way, I should say here, I understand that it was shot during COVID-19. I understand that this movie was shot during the pandemic, so they didn't have restrictions. But at the same time, though, Around the World in 80 Days, which was also shot over the pandemic, which I reviewed not as long ago on this channel, about a month ago now, that was shot over the pandemic, and that actually feels expansive, and you do feel like you're going on a journey with the characters, even though it has some other problems as it is. But here, it just feels so contained. And it doesn't feel like they've gone anywhere apart from big set pieces which have a green screen behind them. And also, the musical score as well is actually quite bad. And the thing is though, the musical score is from Ramin Djawadi. And the thing is though, you know, Ramin Djawadi, the music for all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, you know, say about the 8th season of Game of Thrones, but my God, it has some great music. The whole of Game of Thrones has some absolutely fantastic music. And also, Ramin Djawadi, might pronounce his name on there, but he also did the music for the Westworld TV show, and that has some great music as well. And he also did the music for Eternals. I'm not the biggest fan of Eternals. In fact, I hate that movie. I despise Eternals. But the thing is though, it does have a good musical score. But here, the musical score just makes you realise how bad the film is. Because the score isn't that great. There's no themes that really stand out to you. Unlike the Indiana Jones theme, unlike the theme to the Mummy, unlike the theme, the 1999 Mummy, not the Tom Cruise Mummy film, the Mummy film with Brendan Fraser, unlike the music to all those movies and the music to Pirates of the Caribbean as well, there's no musical score in this movie which really sticks out to me. And I don't know if they use the Uncharted theme, by the way. I don't know if they do. But the thing is, though, none of the score works. And by the way, on the topic of the whole game thing, like I said before, yes, I haven't played the Uncharted game. The thing is, though, I went to go watch the film with Lewis, who, by the way, people might remember from years ago on the channel, who has actually played one of the Uncharted games. He played Uncharted 3, I think. And even he said it was a bad movie. So somebody who's actually played the Uncharted game actually thought this was a bad movie as well. And also, I should point out here that games and films are different medium. Just because something works in a game doesn't mean it's going to work in a film. And I think that's a big problem here. Sure, I heard the game is great. I've never played the game myself, but I hear it's great from Lewis, one of my closest mates. But the thing is, though, it's not being translated well to a film. Honestly, it's rubbish. I could go on and on about how much I like the movie, but I have already. It didn't work for me. And also, there are quite a few moments in the film, by the way, which, Nathan Drake kind of defies laws of gravity. Like, there's one scene in particular, and by the way, this is in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but there's one scene in particular where he's falling out of the sky, and quite literally, he defies the laws of gravity. And by the way, I've seen a few videos on YouTube of Tom Holland talking about, oh my god, all the stunts I do in the chat, they're all me, and there's so much effort, and they put so much effort into the stunts, the film makes this movie, and then you watch the stunts in this movie, and either it doesn't look like it's Tom Holland, it looks like it's one of his stunt doubles, or it looks like it's done by CGI. And I'm not saying, Tom Holland didn't do the stunts in this movie. I bet he did. But this film doesn't make the stunts look any good. Honestly, it really doesn't. Like, when you watch some of the stunts in Indiana Jones, or Pirates of the Caribbean, or The Mummy, or whatever other action-adventure movie that I'm just not mentioning, when you watch stunts in those movies, you go, wow! But then all the stunts in this movie either look like it's done by CGI, stunt doubles, and it just doesn't look like Tom Holland has actually done the stunts. I bet he has. And I really like Tom Holland as an actor. I can't wait to see him in the next Spider-Man movie he's in. But the thing is, though, even he was an actor in this movie. And that pains me to say that, because I like Tom Holland as an actor, but I wish he was better. And I wish I felt like it was him doing the stunts at least. But I just did it in the end. And honestly, it's boring. The action's not great either. I'm getting bored talking about it. I haven't done a proper full-on rant in this video. But the thing is, though, a full-on rant would require me to actually get emotionally invested into this movie. And I did it in the end. Honestly, it's so bad. And also, there's no director's vision in this movie as well. Like, when you watch Indiana Jones movies, they feel like Spielberg movies. They really do. Even the fourth one. But then in this movie, it just kind of feels like it's a committee making a movie. It doesn't feel like it's one director with his vision. It just feels like Sony have their money-filled, grubby hands all over this movie. And so for that reason, we have Tom Holland there, Mark Whalberg there, two quite big stars right now. But honestly, even they're miscast in there. And it's boring, it's tedious, it's dull. How many synonyms can I think of boring before the end of this video? But the truth is, it's so boring. It really is. I hate using that phrase, but I've used it time and time again because I was so bored in cinema. In fact, it got to one point when I was watching it with Lewis and we just started to laugh about how bad this film was. We just started to laugh at the movie. Not with the movie, laugh at the movie. That's another point, by the way. One more point about this movie is there's jokes in there. But the thing is, though, Tom Holland and Mark Whalberg will actually pause after saying a joke so that the audience will laugh in the cinema. But I was watching this in quite a filled up cinema. That's not good English there, but I was watching it in quite a full cinema yesterday. And no one was laughing. There was like one moment when someone laughed a little bit at one stage. But even then, there's just no laughter in the cinema when those jokes happen. And literally Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg will pause after saying the joke. And there was no laughter in the cinema. Although I was laughing when it was not meant to because of how bad the film was. And also the film does have a good heart between Nathan Drake and his brother, which is introduced in like the first 10 minutes of the movie. But the thing is though, that heart is just lost in this big convoluted mess, which is just tedious to watch. Honestly, it's terrible. It's terrible, it really is. I hated it. And yes, I haven't played the Uncharted games before, but the thing is though, like I said before, I went to watch with someone who has, and even he didn't like it as well. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Uncharted, I'm going to say it's a 1 out of 10. Yes, I'm being mean today. I'm going to say it's a 1 out of 10. I think that's the lowest I've ever rated a movie. But honestly, are you surprised? I mean, did you watch the trailer for the movie? They're terrible, honestly. Oh, it's so bad. And I've said the word honestly far too many times in the review, but the truth is, yeah, it's terrible. It really is. And, you know, I wish it was better, because I'm a sucker for a good action-adventure movie. I really am. I love the Indiana Jones movies. But the thing is, though, because I love the Indiana Jones movies, because I watched them as a kid, I have this bad thing now that every time I watch an action-adventure movie, I keep comparing it to Indiana Jones. But the thing is, though, other action-adventure movies can work for me. That's the odd thing, though. Like Pirates of the Caribbean 1, 2, and 3. Those films work for me. Also, I really enjoyed the Brendan Fraser Mummy film. And also, I kind of enjoy Romancing the Stone. I have a bit of a soft spot for it. But the thing is, though, even those movies, I can compare to Indiana Jones and say, they're nowhere near as good. Because the thing is, though, Indiana Jones has ruined other action-adventure movies. Even to the point that other action-adventure movies, like this one, like Uncharted, feel like it has to copy off past Indiana Jones movies to make the audience like it. And that's another reason it doesn't work for me, because it feels like it's trying to copy off Indiana Jones so the audience will go, well, remember how there was Indiana Jones? Well, Uncharted copied that, but you know what? They did it just as well. But they didn't. It's just dull. It doesn't have that Spielberg magic which Indiana Jones films do. It has that dull direction from Ruben Fleischer, which just makes everything feel lifeless and brainless and just so tedious. Honestly, it's terrible. It really is. And I'm done with saying things about this movie. I hated it, and I have no intention to go back and watch it anytime soon, and I don't even want to think about it anytime again, because honestly, it is terrible. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Uncharted, I'm going to say that it's a 1 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of Uncharted? Please do comment down below and know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TV coming very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!